In this video, we'll go through some of the questions in exercise 3.7, starting with the ones that are fractions, and we're going to write them as percentages. We have the two methods. The first method is to change to a decimal. So we're going to do that by dividing the numerator by the denominator. And that will get us to 0.7. And then from a decimal, we're going to change it to a percent. 0.7 multiplied by 100 will give the percentage, which is equal to 70%. The second method for changing a fraction to a percent is to set up a proportion. 7 is to 10 as percent is to 100. And then you can go ahead and multiply 100 times 7 divided by 10. That will get you to 700 divided by 10 equals 70%. For number 2, 2/5, we can divide. 2 divided by 5 is equal to 0.4. And then from there, 0.4 times 100 gives a percentage of 40%. Or, second method, 2/5 is equal to percent over 100. Multiply 200, or 100 times 2 is 200, and divide by 5. Percentage is 40%. For number 3, 1 divided by 4 is equal to 0.25. And then you could quickly multiply by 100 or do it on your calculator, equaling 25%. Again, as a proportion, 1 is to 4 as percent is to 100. So there you would be multiplying 100 times 1 divided by 4, 25%. After question 13, we start looking at ones where we have to write percentages to fractions. So remember, when we're changing a percent to a fraction, we're going to put that percent over 100. But for question 17, we have that decimal percentage. That's not allowed, so we're going to convert this to a fraction. We read this decimal as 40 and 5/10, so we can write it as 40 and 5/10. Or a lot of people will see this as 40.5%, so we could write this as 40.5. It doesn't matter either way. You're going to put that over 100, and the next step is to change to improper. So once we have that, we're going to change to improper. 40.5 becomes 81 over 2. And if you did 40 and 5/10, you would get 405 over 10. So either way is good. Divide by 100. Then we change that to 80 over 2 divided by 100 over 1. And finally, we keep, change, and flip. 81 over 2 times 1 over 100. And we see here that we have nothing to reduce. So we're going to multiply the numerator times numerator and the denominator times the denominator. And we will get 81 over 200. If you would like to check your work, you can change 81 over 200 to a decimal, which will give you 0.405. And then from there, if you multiply that by 100, you will indeed get 40.5%. So let's try those steps one more time. We're going to change percentage to fraction by placing over 100. Here we have a fraction percentage. So we're going to take 16 2/3, put that over 100, and now we go ahead and change to improper. So 3 times 16 plus 2 is 50 over 3 over 100. We write this so that we can actually do the division. 50 over 3 divided by 100 over 1 means 50 over 3 multiplied to the reciprocal, which is 1 over 100. In this case, we have 50 and 100 that can cross-reduce. I'll divide by 50 and divide by 50. Now we can multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 2 is 6. 16 2/3% as a fraction is expressed as 1/6. Sometimes it can feel a bit overwhelming when you look at a table like this where we have to convert from fraction to decimal percent or decimal to percent and fraction. So let's do the first 3 together, and then you can try the rest of the exercise. When you have a fraction and you want to change this to a decimal, you're going to remember to divide numerator divided by denominator. So 1 divided by 4 is going to equal 0.25. From a decimal to change to a percent, we are going to multiply by 100. And 0.25 multiplied by 100 is going to give you 25%. A second method that you can use is to change your fraction to a percent using that proportion. So 1/4 is equal to what over 100? That means you're going to multiply and divide, getting 25%. And then from the percentage, you can change to a decimal by dividing by 100, giving you 0.25. So you have to find the way that you feel comfortable moving from fractions to decimals and percents. For number 26, where you have this percentage, 33 1/3%, I find the easiest thing to do is to change it to a fraction. So we're going to take that number and put it over 100. Remember, anytime you want to change a percent to a fraction, you put it over 100. We've seen this one before, so we're going to have 100 over 3 divided by 100. So we're going to take our time to set this up, and then we're going to keep, change, and flip, getting us down to 1/3. So as a fraction, 33 1/3% is 1/3. Once we have the fraction, to change it to a decimal, we can take 1 divided by 3 on our calculator, which will give us 0.33333 forever. So this is 0.3 repeater. When you have a decimal, it's really your decision which way you want to go. If you want to change it to a fraction first, if you want to change it to a percentage first. From a decimal, you can read the decimal and see the position. So we have 5 in the tenths place. So this is 5/10. This is 5/10, which we know reduced equals 1/2. So that's one way we can change from a decimal to a fraction. And then to change from a decimal to a percentage, we have to remember that decimals to percent means we multiply by 100. We can move the decimal quickly, giving us 50%. Alternatively, you could change it to a percentage first by multiplying by 100, and then you could put the percentage over 100 to change it to a fraction, reducing that down and still getting 1/2.